Hello, hello, hello. This is Felix here.
Hey everyone, Roy here.
And yeah, we're here to answer all your questions about, managing your devices, Ledger Live, anything like that. Get right started to it. In terms of, please don't give out your 24 words. Don't sign any transactions you don't trust. And yeah, we may as well get started. I see quite a few questions. So we'll try to go from there. First up, we have Jason. Florian, just to mention, you can definitely push your questions now. But yeah, Jason, what is the minimum size PC/CPU? So I'm assuming just general requirements you might need to install a Ledger app. Your PC is no longer able to open your Ledger Nano S. So I wanted to probably say that there are definitely minimum requirements on the website that you can check, but I wouldn't my first thought when I read the thing was maybe it's to do with the OS version. That's one thing I'd double check if it's later than generally Windows 10, if you're running on a Windows, and it's 10.13, if I remember correctly, for OS X.
10.14.
10.14,
yeah.
Yes. Then you should be okay and good to go. But I think we had a quick chat, might be something different. I was thinking maybe a connection issue. So it might be good to double check with like multiple devices, something like that, or what it might be that you're actually having trouble with. So, because installing apps, you probably should be able to see it already. So yeah, something's going awry.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Ledger Live isn't the most heavy program ever to run. It's not like, you're trying to run the latest games or anything like that. So it should be working fine when we're looking at CPU. Just make sure that you got a version of Ledger Live that is new. So that's pretty darn important. But also indeed, maybe something relating to a connection issue. Don't hesitate to provide some more information with what's happening. We'll be glad to take a look at it, because that might also give us some information. We're like, that sounds familiar. I know exactly what that is.
Right. Next up, we have Taya and Taha. I don't know if I'm butchering that. Mentioning where is the Ledger stacks. Same with Mandeep as well. I see that question too. But I do see actually Mass-Produced Madness returning to the show, answering it as well. If you guys have pre-ordered it, you should actually already have an email, and you actually get like a free little freebie if you pre-ordered it prior to that as well. So definitely make sure to check that out. Yeah, we're working really hard to get it to you guys, because I think we'll be saying it for every time we come on stream, because I think just as we are, you guys are totally excited to get that out there, right? So yeah, definitely have a look through that email and we'll go from there. Just a bit, Ken Chan, I didn't receive my pre-order Ledger stacks. So again, yeah, not delivered yet at all.
Yeah, that is unfortunately still to be expected indeed. So those that have placed a pre-order of sorts, either via our website directly or by burning the Ledger Stacks NFT, we're working on it. You should probably have received an email with a bit of information on it. And yeah, as Felix indeed said, we're very sorry that indeed it's taking a bit longer than we had hoped, and there will indeed be a small little extra as a result of that.
All right, next up, looks like it's Tracy Simmons. Why can't I move my XTC tokens from Metamask and Ledger to another network?
Network.
So I would imagine the first thing would be that if you're bridging any token to any, depending on the network, it would have to depend on, first of all, if there is either some form of token on another network, or if it's wrapped or something like that. That's my first thing that I'd be mentioning. If you mean network by you want to move from XTC to Ethereum, for example, which I can't remember if there was a wrapped version, but that would be the kind of thing that I might be thinking you were mentioning. Otherwise, I'm not sure what else network might.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering the same thing, because when I hear move it to another network, the first thing is indeed bridging that comes to mind. I can't say I'm personally too familiar with a bridge that would work for that, but can definitely be out there. If there is, MetaMask would probably be the right way to do it. So you'll be able to connect to those kind of dApps and actually make it work from there. If there's any particular kind of issue that you're running into there, don't hesitate to give us a little bit more detail so we can take a closer look at it.
100%. Okay, Alberto Ramirez, you got a cool question. I like this question actually. How to connect two ledgers to Ledger Live, and it would be the same way that you connected the first one, and you add an account, and basically that's it. Actually, there's no extra steps that you need to do. But I think we mentioned it previously. Is like I would suggest renaming the accounts.
Absolutely.
Device you're using it for, because I think I think we definitely have gotten to the point, maybe you and I, where you have so many accounts that you just don't know which one's which, right?
At least 20, yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's definitely something I would definitely suggest that you do, for sure. And yeah, that should help you identify which one is which, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And just one thing to keep in mind, don't use both devices at the exact same time. That's not going to work, because Ledger Live's like, oh, wait, I'm getting information from two different sites. Help, what do I do? So yeah, just do it one by one. And from there, make sure to name the accounts as Felix mentioned, because that way you can always tell them apart. Exactly. Yep.
All right. Actually, Tracy's come back and she's mentioned that she wants to send it to another XTC network.
Oh, to another address, I think.
Okay, that would
So I now actually get the issue a little bit better as well, because I think it has to do with the prefix.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so this is something that's a bit particular to XTC. So normally an Ethereum address would start with 0x. For XTC, your address actually starts with XTC. But you can technically replace this with 0x. MetaMask will not allow you to send to anything that would start with XTC. So just replace that part and put 0x in front of it. From there, it should actually allow you to make that transfer.
It's just a small thing, but can really affect your experience for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Coming up, we have looks like Spacecrafter. You mentioned how do I recover a passphrase wallet? One made with a pin, so I'm assuming that would be attached to pin.
Yeah.
On a software wallet in an emergency, and name a wallet which supports it, and a name of a wallet, I'm assuming, which was for.
Or, yeah. So it depends per crypto already. That's first thing, because a lot of wallets are actually specialized in one particular cryptocurrency or network. For example, if you're using Electrum, that's Bitcoin only. Electrum does have the option for you to enter a passphrase. So that would be an example for that one. Honestly, not all wallets are going to have that. But even for those that don't, there is another workaround. Keep in mind, we're not recommending you to do this right now, because it is going to involve entering your 24 words in a website, which you should never do for a recovery phrase that that is on a Ledger device. So there is something called the Coleman tool, and with this you could enter your 24 words, your passphrase, and from there you can choose the coin and find all the different private keys related to your recovery phrase. Again, we really don't recommend you to do it, and if any day for any reason you would need to use this tool, make sure to download it. Make sure to run it on a computer that is completely offline and try to get it that way. That would be the more secure way to do it. But of course, ideally, just never enter your recovery phrase on a computer, because if you enter it only once, it will be vulnerable to online attacks. That defeats the purpose actually of using our devices.
I think one thing a lot of our colleagues mentioned would be like just to stop using all addresses related to that recovery phrase after that. It's just like, I'm never going to use those again, or it's just better security. It might cost a lot, to be honest, but it's the kind of thing you might want to pay for the peace of mind. So
yeah, absolutely. I would never use a recovery phrase that has been online, unless it's just for like maybe $5 or something here and there. Then fine. If it gets stolen, I'm not going to care too much. But for any larger amount, yeah, just don't.
Okay. Spacecraft also asked, why is live chat disabled for questions on Ledger website? Definitely isn't something that should be disabled all the time, but it does depend on how many people we have and might be speaking. Maybe there's a lot of people that are very busy as well, so it could be something that you might just want to check in another time as well. That could be something you need to consider as well. But yeah, sorry about that. But we're going to try to answer your questions via email as well pretty quickly too. Normally it should be within the day, generally speaking. So if you still have one case that's still open, yeah, let us know. Pop it in the chat, and we'll try to go from there. Spacecraft also mentioned name a Bitcoin, one for Bitcoin that allows a passphrase and recover. Yep, so that would be Electrum. Yeah, exactly. I haven't tested it with Sparrow all the way with the passphrase, but it's another option. So just so you have two, you can experiment with it.
Very nice.
Okay, and Ken Chen asks a different question than normal, than we might normally get. What is the problem with ledger stacks and why the delay? I think the only thing I'd say here is we just want the best product, and it's just not up to what the standards that we want to set for you guys. So that would be the specific thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we are kind of trying to provide, if you will, kind of next level device where, you have the curved e-ink, something that's, by the way, not been done before as well. We're the first to create that kind of curved e-ink screen. So yeah, we're just trying to make sure that it's really up to a very, very high standard.
Mm-hmm. And Taylor, yeah, you can go through the previous answer from Mass Produced Madness as well. But yeah, it is something we're trying to get out to you guys. I totally understand, feeling like it's been a long time. And if you need to change anything we do, just get a hold of us as well. We'll try to help you out as best we can.
Yeah, rest assured, we're also trying to, have it in our own hands. So we completely understand the feeling.
Right. And I just want to follow up with Spacecraft that you mentioned. If you lose your ledger and your passphrase is made by PIN, do I use the same PIN? I'm assuming that's what you mean. I had to read through the lines there, and that is not the case. You wouldn't be using the same PIN.
You can, but...
Exactly, yeah, actually. But what's important is you get the exact same phrase. If you have the exact same passphrase, then you'll be okay from there.
Yeah, keep in mind, passphrase is capital sensitive. So if you started your passphrase with a capital, you need to use it again. If you accidentally put one small letter where there should be a capital, you'll get access to completely different accounts. So be careful for spelling errors there.
All right, let's get back on track because I was a bit sidetracked with a couple of those questions there. Dustin158 mentions drop a like. Ledger support is the best. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's thank you very much for that one.
Appreciate it.
Aryan, hello. I received some NFTs and some random transactions on my ledger. Is that a scam?
Likely.
Yeah, you mentioned they deposited about 60 cents rather. Definitely something that I would imagine would be a scam in trying to get you to interact with them or something along those lines.
Yep.
So definitely something to watch out for. Don't interact with it on chain, and what that would mean is don't try to send it anywhere. Don't try to burn it or anything like that. Don't try to sell it. I don't know if I mentioned that, but all you can do, best thing to do rather, would be to hide it within Ledger Live, and then you just won't see it anymore. So hopefully that's a bit better.
Exactly. So if you hide it in Ledger Live, that's done by simply right-clicking the NFT in your account. And that is nothing on chain. So that part is okay. Beyond that, just basically don't touch it.
Okay. And there we go. So D-Dad on Tequila? That's a great name.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm interested in delegating from your Ledger device. Are there any risks to be aware of?
Staking.
Yeah. And while I would say the first thing would be to know, to potentially mention which asset that you're doing it with. But generally, we can probably speak generally about it.
Yep.
And I think the one thing would probably be if you are who you're selecting or delegating to, right?
Absolutely.
So then, like, if you delegate to someone that isn't validating well, then you might be at risk of slashing, which is a way that you might be, that validators would be disincentivized to act in a bad way. I think another one would be if they're not validating well enough as well, you might not be getting rewards. There are some protocols that might have that kind of in place where if they're not doing something well enough, you just don't get the rewards. So choosing it is like obviously really important. Not as like set and forget as a lot of people might think for a lot of
Depends for crypto again, but yeah, there are definitely some that are a bit more active than others. So exactly as Felix mentioned, do your own research in whoever you're going to choose for a delegation. That is probably the most important part. So when we're talking about slashing, it doesn't only punish the validator, it actually also punishes those that are delegating to them. So whatever you're delegating to them, there is a chance that you would lose a small amount of it. Because of that, do good research and make sure that the validator that you're using has a really good proven track record. That is a recommendation that I would give there. Also regarding rewards, validators often have something called a commission, and that's basically a small part of the rewards that you could have gotten that they'll actually keep. Now, it's not like any kind of greed. They also need to keep a part because, you know, they are running a particular kind of infrastructure, and that does cost to do. So there is still a legitimate reason for that as well. On top, after that, it kind of depends per cryptocurrency. Some do have elements which you will want to consider, but overall, most cryptocurrencies that use a form of delegated proof of stake, the crypto would stay normally on your address. Not all of them. There are still some where it actually gets locked into a smart contract. But for most, where it's native, it would actually stay on your address. Sorry, a little bit of a rant there.
No, that's what we love here, right? Like we love to go on about it. Okay, next one was another follow-up from Spacecrafter. I've just been trying to keep track. Electron Works on mobile. I remember that there is a download for it, but I'm not sure.
I've never used it.
Yeah, I've never used it, and I haven't tested it with the what do you call it? With the Ledger device as well. To be frank, I've definitely done it on the desktop, but it's not something that I've done personally on the mobile device.
Yeah, same here. I've only used it on a computer as well, so I unfortunately couldn't give you more information on that one. I'm sorry.
It's the kind of thing that I think is always good that I try to take on as advice myself, is just to give it a test. Put a random recovery phrase, a random passphrase, test it out, get the same address, and then you can kind of be more sure about what you're doing. So 100%.
Yep.
I just remembered something actually about staking. 100% commission validators, or depending which way. So
did I forget to mention that because I wanted to? My mistake.
No, but like I was just like, oh, there is that.
Yeah.
If some validator is taking 100% of your stake
Potential reward,
then
you're not getting anything.
Yeah, unless you're being very charitable. So you know.
Yeah, it will be very generous.
But yeah, one more thing there.
Yep.
Okay. Bit all over the place, I feel I am, but okay. Spacecraft stream is buffering a lot. I'll definitely make sure to let the guys know. Maybe we can get something a little shiny for us here. So I'll definitely make sure to take that on as feedback for the guys.
Or maybe someone's mining Bitcoin again.
Yeah. Okay. What does it mean? Oh, actually, I missed one here. Jose Lenny Solidum. Definitely remember your name, liking it. Why is it that when staking ADA directly on Ledger, it takes 5 epochs, 25 days, for the rewards to be credited, while if you stake on an exchange, you get the rewards immediately after 48 hours?
On-chain versus off-chain.
Yeah, I don't think it's tough to explain necessarily, but it's definitely a bit jarring when you come directly from an exchange and everything's instant. Everything doesn't have fees. That's the big one
Yeah,
as well.
very different experience. Absolutely.
And I think in this case, it's just something that, you know, that let's say we use an exchange. I don't want to pick on anyone in particular. Binance might take on the responsibility of, you know, actually staking that on chain for you, and then they'll actually shorten that period to give you a better experience. But I mean, in this case, my understanding would be that it is part of how it would work on chain in particular, and then you know, if you want to make sure that you know hold on to the sovereignty or the custody of your assets, that is part of the thing that you would have to deal with is potential waiting times and things like that. So.
Yeah. Another thing to consider, by the way, if you're staking from within an exchange, usually your rewards are lower because the exchange is going to take a piece of the pie. That's ultimately a way that they earn themselves as well. Part of the reason why with exchanges it's pretty much immediate, that has to do with the simple fact that they are already staking. So usually with Cardano, there is indeed a 5 epoch, which comes down to 25 days waiting period. But the thing is, the exchange is already doing it for you. So because of that, they don't have that waiting period anymore. But yeah, keep in mind, they will likely charge more to basically take more of a commission versus if you were doing it yourself on the blockchain directly rather than letting someone else do it for you.
Okay. Next up, Taya, just so you know, we have already answered those questions just above, but to mention it again, we're just trying to make sure the Stacks is the best product it can be for you guys, and we'll get it out to you when we can. We definitely, you know, don't want to make it seem like we're totally ignoring you, but yeah, definitely have answered that in particular. Definitely check the email if you've already pre-ordered as well. Sorry to make you feel like that. It's not like that at all.
Yeah, not at all, and our apologies. There should indeed be an email that has gone out since, so don't hesitate to check it. It gives a bit more information as well.
Okay, next up we have Spacecrafter that I nearly jumped onto. What does it mean if my passphrase is attached to pin? I'm assuming then is my pin my passphrase? No, the pin wouldn't be the passphrase. I think attaching to pin is definitely. I don't know that there's an easier way to use the terminology, but essentially it's just let's say I have ledger device and I have recovery phrase on it. If I want to do passphrase A and I attach it to pin, and I would be using my normal pin code 0000. If I attach it to pin, I use a different pin, let's say 0001. And then instead, now when I go to 0001, I'd be using the accounts that have the recovery phrase and the passphrase. Whereas if I use my normal recovery pin code, so 0000, then I would be getting to my normal accounts. A bit, you know, a bit wordy. Sometimes I like to use diagrams if I'm emailing you, but that's kind of how I think about it, right? Like, it's just you're accessing a different account based on the pin in this case.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that I kind of see it is the pin, while it's the way to unlock it currently, it actually is not really linked to your passphrase. They actually do stand completely separate from each other. Ultimately, to regain access for it at some point, you don't need the pin. You technically just need your 25th word. As a matter of fact, what you can even do as a little practice, if you'd like, just enter your normal pin, then go to the passphrase menu and use set temporary. If you enter the exact same 25th word, you'll get access to the exact same addresses and accounts without having used that pin in the first place.
What am I up to next? So get a stash, definitely check out the emails like we've mentioned before. Jose, when will swapping on Ledger be available for Cardano?
I think that is actually on our scope. We cannot guarantee anything, but I believe it's being considered.
Definitely something that I think you guys have been talking about a lot. So yeah, we want to make sure that we give the people what they want. So 100%. Yeah, we love it. Next up, Yo Mammy. So if I set up a Ledger account and used one of the indexed accounts connected to a seed phrase, okay, is the seed exposed if a bad actor uses a bad contract on an indexed wallet used to stake crypto? So I think we can leave out the indexed part because that doesn't seem relevant.
Unless it's really about a U2XO using... are you by any chance talking about Cardano? Because if so, then I do see the indexed part because you would have changing addresses. If not, if it's about, for example, Metamask and you've added more than one address, then you would also be on the next index. If that's the case, if you sign some kind of malicious smart contracts on address number 1, it would not impact what's on address number 2 normally. So that shouldn't be the case.
I am wondering. I wouldn't know if this is the case. If it is a UTXO style network or chain, and because the public key, the extended public key, has the hardened paths and then the non-hardened paths, if there is something, hopefully this isn't the case. If there is something that can, if you export your public key, it might know. Oh,
it's only with private. So even the hardened part, if there will be any kind of risk with that, you would need to have exposed a private key from the non-hardened part. Okay. Which is already way advanced material, by the way. So sorry for going a little bit off track there.
But I think, normally they should be okay. I would like to, in most cases, definitely let us know because we want to make sure as best we can.
Yeah, so don't hesitate to give us a little bit more information so we're sure that we're talking about the right situation here.
Okay. That on Tequila. Great info, thank you. I had no idea about slashing. I'll do some more, do your own research. Indeed, it's probably the thing that put me down the rabbit hole, just all the research that I had to do, wanted to do.
And keep in mind, by the way, not every single proof of stake cryptocurrency actually uses slashing. The majority does, but one that, for example, comes to mind, the Avalanche and Avalanche at the same time. The Avalanche P chain, for example, does not use slashing, but that is more the exception rather than the rule.
Okay. Arian, if I remember correctly, this was the potential scam. He sent Matic. Okay, pretty actually standard. Currently, I did not hold any Matic on my ledger, but what if I send Matic to my ledger and one day I want to withdraw on exchange for that? Is there any problem there? No. In general, as long as you didn't interact with any NFT that might have happened, that might have been sent to you, if you don't expose your private key or your recovery phrase, there isn't any issue in sending or receiving assets on that address. It's just as long as just making sure to avoid that rather.
Yeah, exactly. And Polygon or Matic is actually a pretty popular blockchain for these kind of fake NFTs and scams because the fees on Polygon are actually quite low. So because of that, if someone tries to send these kind of scams, they're kind of cheap to do over there. So that's why you'll see them a bit more over there.
All right. And he also mentions transaction color is white.
That's outgoing. That's fees. So not to worry. Basically, what it will come down to is so I think this is a type of address poisoning that we're talking here.
Yeah.
Where someone actually was able to send an NFT from out of your account, which looks very strange. But they can code the smart contract in such a way where they control what the NFT does. Nothing to worry about. Would it mean that your account is compromised in any kind of shape or form? Just make sure not to interact with those NFTs and you are okay.
Okay, Alberto also asks, what is the difference between the Ledger Nano S? I'm going to add the Ledger Nano S Plus and then the Ledger Nano X. And I think the main difference would be with the Ledger Nano S and S Plus. And so the Nano S difference from the Ledger Nano S Plus and X would be size of the amount of apps that you can install. So not the amount of currency that you can control, but applications I always mention as little books or little instruction manuals for the Ledger devices to know how to interact with the blockchain. Difference between the Ledger Nano S Plus and X generally is going to mainly be Bluetooth.
Yeah.
So those are probably the main things. A little bit of form factor differences as well. S Plus has the buttons on the top and X has the buttons on the front. But that's probably about it that I can think about.
Yeah, I think so.
Main things in particular. So
it's funny. I always remember when the X just came out, I was always kind of like, is Bluetooth really going to be that much of a difference? And then I started using it and I thought, well, actually, yes, it does make a difference for the experience. Keep in mind, by the way, the Bluetooth currently only works with smartphones and not with computers. So that is still something to keep in mind.
So just to follow up, I know you keep hearing that and, liaising with us about a refund. Yeah, it's something we'll have a chat to you about. Obviously, I'd be sad about it, but we'll
You're more than free to. So we completely respect your decision. And yes, you can contact us and we'll look into it.
100%. Okay, Spacecraft, what is the official company behind Electrum? Can I get a link for PC and Play Store? So I think first thing, I don't know that there's a specific, for-profit company behind Electrum that I know either.
Yeah,
I would have. I had imagined it was a open source project. There's lots of individual developers, right? What that would mean as well is that you can see the code on GitHub, so that you know that it's you can check it and everything like that. That being said, I might have to either do it after the stream, if you want to wait till then, or just get a hold of us through a quick email, and then someone will potentially send that out to you straight away as well. But I can probably pop that in the chat in a little bit as well once we get to answering some other questions. Play Store, I don't think that there would be a link for that one. It would be if you're familiar, you might have to download like the APK, double check the APK if you want, and then you can install it on an Android, for example.
Yeah, this wouldn't be on the Play Store or anything like that.
How does a wallet become sensitive to capitals and lowercase?
There are two things being a little mixed up there. So the limited number of words that you are referring to, that's for your recovery phrase. So there indeed you have, and that is the correct number, by the way, 2048 different words that could be part of your recovery phrase. For the 25th word, the passphrase, it is not limited to that. For the passphrase, you can choose anywhere between 1 to 100 character length on your Ledger device. And for each slot, you can either choose between one of the 26 lower cap letters, one of the 26 capitalized letters, 10 different numbers, 0 to 9, and 32 special characters. In total, for each single slot, you have 94 different options. And then, do that by the power of 100, basically. That gives you the amount of options. So the passphrase is different rather than that set list of 24 words.
I definitely think can be confusing because a lot of people in general, they use passphrase, recovery phrase, mnemonic phrase, and even just private keys sometimes pretty interchangeably when they're not always. It's not always the case. So always good to make sure to know that passphrase is something on top of the recovery phrase.
Not the same thing exactly. Yeah, and if we're talking about just this standard 24-word recovery phrase, this is also, by the way, in no way or no means attached to your PIN directly. it would be able to stand on its own.
Okay. And how does a passphrase fit in? So hopefully we went through that. And how does the recovery phrase of that passphrase, how does the recovery of the passphrase wallet work? Should just be able to attach it like you have before, and yeah, yep, good to go from there.
Correct.
Yo Mami, multiple addresses on MetaMask.
So they're talking about the indexes of the. So okay, in that case, if you sign something malicious on address 1, it should not affect what is on address 2. You would again have to specifically sign on address 2 to basically compromise anything on there as well.
If the seed.
So it is still connected to the same seed, but the thing is, you would be signing with a particular private key rather than the extended private key. So because of that, it should still be okay.
Nice. That's really great news, actually, to know that, you know, at least you're isolated a bit, and hopefully it's a bit of security, extra security.
I personally do always still like using separate accounts, meaning, you know, different XPub. But that's just me personally. I think I'm probably a bit, what's the word I'm looking for?
Not paranoid.
Yeah, that was the word.
Okay, Aaron, thank you as well for the question. Spacecrafter, is there a way to check what smart contracts you have signed, and can you revoke them for better security?
Absolutely. So, oh no, please go ahead.
There's 2, right? There's one for Etherscan. Token approval checker is the one that it's called, if I remember correctly. And obviously the big boy of the group is revoke.cash.
That was the one that came to my mind too. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, revoke.cash can actually be used for many different chains as well nowadays. So I would say go there, connect via Metamask, and you can see everything that you have signed and what you can revoke. So that is undoable. Yeah.
I think,
or can be undone, I should say.
I think there's also newer technologies out now, or newer patterns that can be done, where you just approve once for the lifetime of the address, and then you sign a message to actually approve. And so that might show up a little differently in revoke.cash, just so you're aware as well. Just another thing to keep in mind, because also now that would mean that you also need to be very careful of the messages you're signing. Please just don't sign any messages either. I think for a while it was pretty, you could pretty nonchalantly sign some messages, but that's definitely not the case at all anymore. So definitely be careful.
Yeah, I think there is like a slight difference displayed on your ledger device between those two. So one, it would say, I think it was message sign, and the other is signed message. If you see signed message, it could mean that there's actually something that will be triggered from there on.
Definitely be careful.
Absolutely. Don't trust, verify.
Exactly. And clear signing. Always clear signing. I nearly forgot that one too. Now, next up would be Pappy. That your XTC isn't showing up in your ledger live. Now, you would need to use a third-party wallet for XTC in particular, but doesn't mean that you can't use your ledger device to manage the assets. So just something that you might need to keep in mind there. At the moment, not currently supported within Ledger Live.
Yeah, correct. So you would indeed be looking at, for example, Metamask, MyEtherWallet, something along those lines for XTC.
Next up is Cherubim Church. Does Ledger Enterprise work for family offices?
Yeah, I think they do actually do that. So it would be a better question probably posed for the enterprise team that we have. So if you go to our website, there should be a form that you can fill out. So I would recommend reaching out to them that way, because unfortunately we are more focused on the Ledger Nano S, Ledger Nano X. So yeah.
Definitely a great service. I don't think as it is, as it not should be, but as it's kind of the way it is with enterprise services, but it's definitely kind of really cool, honestly.
Super cool technology, yeah. It doesn't get the recognition it deserves, I sometimes feel, but yeah. At the same time, maybe that's how it should be.
Is it Electrum Technologies, GmbH, the company? It's available on Play Store. I haven't double checked it, so I wouldn't be 100% sure, but I've downloaded worse things on Play Store, to be frank.
I would really recommend caution. That's really the one thing I can say here. I personally don't have an Android device, so I cannot double check that. And to be perfectly honest, I couldn't tell you what the company name would be in such a case.
I might just double check, but I still wouldn't necessarily recommend, just because I say it looks okay, to download it as well, just as a heads up. So I'll double check that now.
The best way would probably just go to their website and get Electrum that way.
I might even try to mention it on stream in terms of words instead of typing it. It might be a little bit easier. Okay, I do see one there, but next question was, what's the best euro coin to swap to from coins from different chains?
Euro coins.
So like a euro stable, I imagine, right?
A euro stable coin, I would imagine too.
I know two, but only one that I've actually used lots of.
Is it e-euro?
No, actually no.
Okay.
No. What is it? Euro S, EURS, Eurostasis.
Stasis, yeah.
So that it is actually on a couple of chains. And EURT, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm mixing something up there, but definitely EURS is the ticker that I've used before.
Yeah, I think I could be misremembering this, but I think just like there's a True USD, I think there was also True Euro as well. But this is a part where we would always recommend doing your own research just a little bit, because you want to make sure that if you're getting a stablecoin, that you are getting a legitimate project. So yeah.
100%. The main website for Electrum, by the way, is electrum.org. So
yes,
ELECTRUM.org. And you'll be able to find it from there. Sorry I wasn't able to type it, but yeah. Maybe next time we'll try to get someone, maybe someone like that.
That'll screen share.
Yeah. Next up, we had Spacecrafter. There's an article about Blockplay that explains how even if you get all your 24 words right, even then it's not possible to recover the funds because seeds are just one piece of many to recover the funds.
So that is probably related to the passphrase, I'm guessing.
Because the next part of his question is, so my other question is, if it's already that complex to recover 24-word phrase, so how much more complexity does adding a passphrase add? Is there a standard passphrase protocol, or does everyone use a different one, making it harder for users to recover? This is really cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, how long do you have? So let's first get down to, is it a standard? Yes, it is part of what we call the BIP32 standard. So passphrase does belong there. Now, as for complexity, just on your 24 words alone, there are already millions and millions and millions more possible combinations for your 24 words than there are atoms on planet Earth. So pretty wild. The thing is, after that, you can still add a 25th word, the passphrase of your own choosing. And there are way, way, way more possibilities for the passphrase versus your recovery phrase. And the beauty is, your passphrase is still dependent on your recovery phrase. So you even need to multiply those two numbers. It just gets absolutely mind-blowing up to a point where every single calculator that you will try to use is basically going to say, no, sorry, we cannot actually calculate that. It's too big of a number.
Yeah, so nothing that, if you're worried about, brute forcing or anything like that, even with the normal 24 recovery phrase, if you're trying to brute force the full 24 words, not something I would be worried about at all. But yeah,
not very feasible indeed.
I think in terms of the standard passphrase, in terms of what you're using, I personally would just suggest using something that is personal to you, that you would remember, and that's about it. And that is also, I would normally also suggest that shouldn't be able to be brute forced as well, by a word, but because it depends on the recovery phrase as well, it's not as necessary, I would say. So it's kind of a risk versus reward. Are you going to remember it? Are you going to remember 100 long character sequence of letters, numbers, and punctuation? Probably not. So probably don't need to go that far.
I mean, while it is technically the most secure, yeah, you're so prone on making a misspelling in that case. So yeah. A thing that I personally always like to do for the passphrase is kind of try to create a sentence and then kind of make a mnemonic out of that. For example, if I would have the sentence, I really like having 20 Bitcoin, I might actually have I, and then the R from really, then the L from like, 20 as a number, so 20, and then Bitcoin, it's a proper noun with a capital B. So that's, for example, a way that I tend to structure these kind of things.
So what Spacecrafter is continuing to say, a wallet that supports BIP39 does not mean it can recover your coins. It is only one part of the requirement. BIP39 is like the ability to read and understand the seed, the seed phrase, but your wallet also needs to understand how to find your coins using that 12 to 24 word phrase. I know exactly where
derivation path.
Yeah. And know the coins you're trying to find. So yeah. Derivation path is basically it's not normal. It should be that each coin has its own path. But I know that there have been some overlaps. But that's the kind of thing that you need to then. It's the next step in trying to recover the assets, quote unquote, because you're actually recovering the private keys. But yeah, that's the next step, making sure you have the right derivation path.
Yeah, a way that you can actually, in my opinion, best learn about this is by trying to use the Ian Coleman tool. See, the Ian Coleman tool, if you scroll down a bit, you can actually, first off, you can generate a random recovery phrase, so you're not using one of your own. Definitely recommend it because never enter your 24 words anywhere. After that, if you scroll down a bit, you can kind of see how the path gets constructed. And so from there you can see, oh, if I'm using Bitcoin, that number is a 0. Oh, if I'm using Ethereum, that number becomes a 60. So from there you can kind of see how this all works. Personally, remember when I learned about derivation path, I read a lot, didn't fully click yet. The moment I started using the Ian Coleman tool from there, immediately.
Okay, some really cool other questions as well. Next one is, I actually jumped down a bit, but Pappy, can you have multiple wallets in one Ledger Nano X? I'm assuming if you mean addresses and accounts, 100%. And you can, for different chains as well, so 100%. Alberto Ramirez, I cannot change my 24 words for another 24 words, right? So I would like to preface this because yes, you can get another 24 words, that's totally possible. But if you're trying to have the same address with a different recovery phrase, that is not possible. The addresses are derived from let's go all the way. So the addresses are derived from the extended public and private key, which is derived from the recovery phrase and or passphrase as well. So you would get a different address based on the recovery phrase as well. I forgot the derivation part in that, but yes, all part of the same chain, as it were. But yeah.
Yeah, it basically, your crypto isn't going to automatically move to a new set of 24 words, basically. So you can get a new set of 24 words, but if you want to do that, make sure to first send all of the crypto that you have on your first set of 24 words somewhere else, another address that is under your control. And after that, you could reset your Ledger device by entering an incorrect PIN code 3 times in a row. And then you can get a brand new set of 24 words. But yeah, keep in mind, your crypto isn't going to automatically move itself. That won't happen.
All right. It looks like it's about only 10 minutes left. Seems like there's a bit of a slowdown on the questions. Spacecrafter, I'm loving the enthusiasm as well, by the way, but hopefully we answered that one because that definitely got quite in depth. But yeah, we love it. That's exactly what we
One of my favorite topics, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a Cyrillic name here, and you've also mentioned when new ledger. Again, no, we don't have any like when for you or anything like that, but we just want to make sure that it's like the top-notch product that it should be to be able to get it out to you guys. So 100%. Sorry, I don't have better news, but yeah, keep an ear out and check the email as well if yeah, you have any thoughts, or if you pre-ordered especially as well. Next up, John Nipple. That's also a great name. With the love hearts, thank you. I love that as well.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Other than that, I think I don't know. It feels like how's crypto industry been feeling so far for you this past week, 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's, we've had some interesting news with, of course, the SEC. So that was definitely interesting. Now, of course, we need to see what happens next because, while this is a small victory, there's still a little bit of a path to go. But yeah, what I do always notice is during the summer months, crypto tends to slow down a bit as people are going on vacation quite often. So I think the real interesting part is to come in October until the end of the year. Let's see. Yeah, what do you think?
Oh, once I feel like, yeah, it's the start of it's one step of 1,000, right? Like,
Yeah.
and we'll get there. And I still think we still haven't reached what we would normally call like max Payne. So we shall see. I saw some calls for 15 K and 1.4 for ETH. So I don't know, but that's a big call. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly honest, it sounds like a wonderful discount. So you know,
Exactly.
yeah,
Spacecrafter. This is definitely something I would avoid, by the way, with derivation paths. You mentioned tell me a wallet which I can choose my own derivation paths because technically that would make it more secure.
yeah.
So
I would avoid doing that in all perfect honesty because it is very easy to make mistakes on it.
and I think, let's say you're using Bitcoin as well. So let's say it's a Bitcoin and an Electrum you're using where you can choose your own derivation paths.
Yep.
If you're using it with your ledger device, you're going to definitely have a terrible UX. And they actually did that on purpose. Because they did not want you, because it isn't, you want to be on the right derivation path. There shouldn't be any extra extra need to go and use different derivation paths to when the recovery phrase should be enough, especially if you generated it with a truly random source, like on the ledger device. I know some people might try to choose their own, which is definitely not recommended. Actually, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
Not even recommend, because it's it's just, we're bad at randomness. So
Yeah, the thing is, it can really be a fast track into losing crypto. So we really avoid, or really recommend avoiding these kind of things.
next up, 7-7 pops out. Been lurking in the shadows.
Why, hello there.
Hello indeed. Spacecrafter, if there are many derivation paths and it's already complex, then do different wallets also support different derivation paths for passphrase? So the derivation path, I think of it like a tree, and the derivation path would be above, would be below the passphrase. So you got the recovery phrase, the passphrase, and then it branches out into many derivation paths. The one that Ledger uses depends on the assets. So, but let's say the one I always think about is, because I'm a bit of a stand, would be like 4460 for Ethereum. Yeah, but yeah, it depends on which asset that you're using the derivation. The derivation path will change for.
Keep in mind, by the way, derivation path is usually also an industry standard. So 4460, that tends to be the standard for Ethereum that not only we use, Metamask will use it, some other of our competitors would use it as well. So this is actually a standard too. That also actually allows you, for example, you might have been using a Trezor device and now you're going to Ledger instead. You would enter your 12-word recovery phrase, because Trezor gives 12 words, And from there, you should actually be able to get access to the right Ethereum account with just that 12-word recovery phrase, because same derivation path.
Okay, next up, what is the process for a new device phasing out an old one? And I have to get a new device because the old one isn't supported anymore.
Recovery phrase.
Yeah, that's the main thing that you need to keep. That's the process to make sure that you always have access to it.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a few devices that unfortunately most people don't know about. But we used to, for example, have the ledger HW1 and the original ledger Nano. So not ledger Nano S, I'm talking about the ledger Nano that have been discontinued since. But even these devices would work via recovery phrase that you can always enter on a new device. As long as you have your set of 24 words, you will be able to regain access to your crypto. Even if ledger were to stop existing, you can still gain access to your crypto that way. Let's hope that never happens, though.
7.7, you've been stacking the H-bar bag, NFA.
Not financial advice.
Exactly right. Puppy, how often will new coins be added to the Ledger database? So I'm assuming you mean into being able to see them in Ledger Live, or to be able to add potential accounts in Ledger Live. It's not a specific TikTok cycle or anything like that. But we try to add them as often as we can and as often as they're coming in to be requested.
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a bit of a difference if we're looking at coins versus tokens.
That is true.
Tokens tend to be added with nearly every update of Ledger Live. Coins themselves do tend to take a little bit longer because there's extra infrastructure that needs to be created in those cases.
Okay, and Spacecraft, if Ledger Live closes, I'm assuming you mean Ledger, then where can I download software for different coins? It would have to depend at the time, but it would depend on the standard. So my go-tos would be like Electrum, Sparrow for Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. You have Metamask, or you have my Ether wallet for Ethereum. And and there's probably like Daedalus for Cardano and Ada Lite. Yoroi.
Yep.
There's lots of them.
So many. Kepler Atom, Tronscan for Tron. I mean, we can continue this song and dance for probably an hour, to be honest, because there are so many other wallets that can be used with a Ledger device.
I think I misunderstood the question. It was actually, and why don't they come pre-installed? So I think you might be talking about the applications, which is actually different. The applications, like I think we mentioned before, kind of how the Ledger device knows how to interact. And they don't come installed because not everyone is going to interact with the same coins, and there's a limited amount of space that would be able to be used on the Ledger device. Yeah. So if there is being that it's limited, you want to install the ones that you interact with. And uninstalling applications doesn't mean you lose access to those apps, assets rather, as well.
Yeah, exactly. When you reinstall an application, so long as your 24-word recovery phrase is still the same, after reinstalling the app, you'll get access to the exact same addresses again. So yeah. And also keep in mind, because when we're thinking about apps, probably one of the first things that you think of is, okay, it's used to generate the private key, which is correct. But applications do more than that. They also create signatures that are required. The thing is, one cryptocurrency might not use the same type of signatures. Like if we're looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think there's a difference actually, isn't there? Or am I confusing something here?
Sorry, I was actually reading the chat.
The signature types can actually change between cryptocurrencies as well. And I believe, for example, Bitcoin and Ethereum was different.
They can use different cryptographic curves and things like
algorithms.
That. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it can change. So yeah, sorry, I misunderstood it before, but yeah. If Ledger Live shuts down, or Ledger Live stops being supported, keep in mind a lot of the apps are open source. Actually, all of the apps are open source, or you should be able to see the source code. For example, Bitcoin, Ethereum, you can see them, and there are ways to install them on a Ledger device without Ledger Live. But I mean, it's not something that we normally talk about because Ledger Live is the easiest way to install them.
Yep.
If Ledger Live goes out of business, I'm sure those kinds of things will start to be circulated and things like that as well.
Yeah, but technically you don't need Ledger Live in order to get applications on your Ledger device. Technically.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we should just about finish up because we got a hard stop. We've got will Casper be added into Ledger anytime soon?
I wouldn't mind giving a teaser there, actually. That's all right. So we cannot give any kind of date. We don't know. It might always be subject to change. But a tip that I like to give is on status.ledger.com, you can actually see the current status of our explorers and if they're running well. I would say take a little look and see which ones you can find there.
And that's about it. Thank you guys, Spacecrafters. Sorry, but we do have to go. If you do want to keep on chatting, we got other sessions later on in the week, as well as all throughout the week. And you can always get a hold of us, support.ledger.com. Yeah, hopefully, I'm sorry to cut it off so early. I love all the questions. But yeah, we'll come back next week.
Yeah, it was fun. And thanks for all the questions. And especially there were so many like varied ones this time. It was amazing.
Loving it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe in the markets out there.
Yep.
Peace.
Have a good one.